from the work I created to be uploaded here during the next 2 weeks. The concept of obsession kept coming back to me. I might even say obsessionally so. Obsession seems to be a key component not only to the grouping of work for this residency, but of my artistic practice in general. Merriam-Webster defines obsession as 1. A persistent, disturbing preoccupation with an often unreasonable idea or feeling. Broadly, compelling motivation and obsession with profits. 2. Something that causes an obsession. I have no shame boldly claiming that I often have persistent, disturbing preoccupations with often unreasonable ideas or feelings, with some maybe manifesting as compelling motivations. Others may be just as a cause for cavities. I also possess a persistent stubbornness. I'm a triple Taurus that catalyzes my obsessive qualities. I create work in an obsessional manner, researching around the images I want to create and investigating ways in which other artists, scholars, and activists have dealt with him. I am constantly trying to recreate and perfect my imagery, although I resist the notion that they're ever fully resolved. My aim is to create safe spaces to ask questions and create dialogues for the often difficult to verbalize trauma surrounding my work. Trauma and its implications are never fully resolved. Surviving and coming to terms with trauma happens on a day-to-day basis, and the potentiality of re-triggering events often means that the psychological trauma remains scars. In this way, the work I do never fully heals either. It remains open to being improved upon, recreated, reformulated, and recontextualized to what it needs to be, the pieces that will be uploaded on. Here are all remnants of things I've held onto, pieces I've been chewing on and smoldering over. Footage shot in the spring of 2011, re-edited and then re-edited again when I realized I had imported all of the files incorrectly to create a new piece. Performances recreated for video, even one created for the first time and a public performance that might have finally found its audience after years of being just an idea. Eat That. Poison Apple, May 6, 2013. Eat That. Poison Apple was performed to and shot by Sarah Hill in April 2013. Unconscious women are a trope, often used in fairy tales. Call it enchanted sleep if you must. Nothing creates a damsel with removed subjectivity more than there being perpetually asleep. Some medical professionals call the diploma. Snow White and Sleeping Beauty are some of the best known tales featuring unconscious main characters, and they are continually being retold through various film and movie adaptations as well as contemporary performance art. So how do you wake an unconscious princess? By perpetrating actions on or around her body without her consent, of course. In the original Grimm fairy tale version of Snow White, the prince decides that she is so beautiful that he must have her for himself. In transit to his castle and unconscious, her carriage hits a bump, causing the jammed piece of apple in her throat to dislodge, thus breaking her enchanted sleep. In the Disney version and many others, it's true love's kiss or some shit like that breaks the spell. These highly romanticized accounts of princesses being saved by a kiss from a prince underscore the actuality of their situations. Unconscious and unable to verbalize or indicate in any way a form of consent, any action taken upon them indicates a form of sexual act. Her physical assault with the increase in media attention on issues of sexual violence. And as a survivor of sexual violence, I think it's important to open up productive spaces for dialogue and production of images that clearly define what consent is, as well as what it is not. Fairy tales and their adaptations continue to be a part of most people's lives in some way or another, and as such, should be interrogated and held accountable for the cultural values and gendered stereotypes they often enforce. The lines of consent should be extremely concrete, even in kingdoms far, far away. But the discussion around consent has been stunted due to the difficulty of public dialogues around trauma. The well-intended slogan "No means no" has left space for a culture deeply impacted by rape culture and misogyny to assume that the absence Of a clear and firm no could mean yes. That people are always available for sexual consumption until they state otherwise. Instead of a maybe, more positive yes means yes. Asserting that touching others is a privilege that has to be given. These sorts of dialogues around sexual violence and consent seem counterproductive. Be increased. Media attention to survivor stories has made this more abundantly clear. Survivors are often put under moral scrutiny and slut-shamed, and often in cases when they have been unable due to states of unconsciousness, intoxication, or physical threat to say no. It has been used against them as a justification for saying that they wanted it. In my performance of Snow White's poison scene, of Snow White gorges herself on poison apples, gnashing and gnawing them into pieces, obliterating her potential destruction, letting apple pieces and juices stream out of her mouth, rendered defective, void of power. This gesture activates my own feminist refusal to be saved, to reject the position of having to be saved, or participate in the heteronormative economy of saving whistle while you work. May 9th, 2013. The following video was never intended for public consumption. It was made as a love letter. The Twinkie Defense, May 11th, 2013. The Twinkie Defense is a group collaborative performance by Creighton Baxter, Sarah Hill, and Hayley Morgenstern as a wholesome family. We decided to commence a performative investigation into the ramifications and absurdities involved in the Twinkie Defense and its legacy. We actuate a queer family TV dinner scenario. In place of a television, in this scene are 3 video cameras, and our meal is a feast of Twinkies. 34 years ago today, the defense rested in the trial of the people versus Dan White. He stood accused of murdering both San Francisco City Supervisor Harvey Milk and Mayor George Moscone. The trial, which remains an extremely public historical case of injustice in the United States, often gets misread and subsumed by the spectacle of what has become known as the Twinkie Defense. The Twinkie Defense was coined following the trial of Dan White. White's lawyer's defense rested on the defense of diminished capacity. The American Heritage Dictionary of the English language defines diminished capacity as lack of ability to comprehend the nature of a crime one has committed, or to restrain oneself from committing a crime, arguing that a severe depression and the problems White was having at City Hall led to his inability to restrain from or comprehend his crime. The Twinkies became evidence that the once health-conscious White was severely depressed, that his overconsumption of junk food had caused a chemical imbalance in his brain, and that combined with the stress of losing his job caused him to be in a mental state lacking the ability to comprehend the nature of a crime. Although White's crime displayed many predetermined factors, such as the window he climbed through to escape the metal detectors from catching his loaded gun and extra bullets, he shot both Milk and Moscone multiple times, reloading his gun prior to his second murder. Isandita says in Female Trouble 1974 from the notoriously family-oriented mind of John Waters. I worry that you'll work in an office, have children, celebrate wedding anniversaries. The world of heterosexuals is a sick and boring life. The Twinkie Defense was performed utilizing the framework of Decide and a factory camp as means to process and come to terms with queer historical trauma and invisibility. The action of eating an absurd amount of Twinkies attempts to activate a form of queer protest that seeks to expose historical injustices and inaccuracies.